guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be discussing the tanking strategy for Maut in the Ny'alotha raid on normal. Please let me start off by saying that this fight is the first fight in the instance in which tanking becomes a much more fun and interactive role, and it's certainly one of my favourite fights. The tank starts with pulling the boss and facing him away from the raid. Try and keep him relatively still, because positioning can be important in this fight, and I'll explain why shortly. The boss will start off targeting DPS with purple swirlies, which drops a devoured abyss. Always make sure that as the boss's tank that you're stood relatively close to one of these, but not inside of it. They are used to mitigate a white mechanic frequently in the fight, and I'll explain more later. Once you're happy with your positioning, you then have to worry about a debuff called Shadow Wounds, which is a stacking debuff which ticks for shadow damage every 2 seconds, with the strength of the ticking damage increasing every time your stack gets higher. Since this is normal, I'm going to say that if you struggle to maintain your HP, you'll want to swap at about 2 to 4 stacks. However, if you can handle the damage and you don't really find it a problem, it's also acceptable just to taunt swap after every ad, ensuring neither tank's debuff gets fatally high amounts and allowing the now off tank to prepare for the ads. And now that I've mentioned the ads, it's kind of important I explain what they do, as it is a key mechanic in the fight. The boss will spawn an ad called a Dark Manifestation, which DPS must be switching to straight away to allow the tanks to swap efficiently, especially. They also must be tanked 20 yards away from the boss at all times, otherwise it will gift it a hefty amount of its mana, and the boss doesn't want to be getting to full mana because then it pushes its phase 2. The mechanic you have to deal with this ad is quite fun, to be fair. It's a lot of kiting, but it is quite fun. And it's a mechanic called Dark Offering, which basically it just grants the boss 20% of its mana. So to avoid that happening, all you have to do is them same void zones I was talking about before, the devouring abysses. You just have to kite the ad through when it starts its cast, and then once it's interrupted, bring it out again immediately, otherwise it will start feeding the boss mana from the effect of the abyss. So all you have to do with this ad is make sure that it's 20 yards away from the boss, and whenever it casts its interrupts, you need to tank it through the abyss in order to interrupt it, because it can't be interrupted with traditional means. So yeah, ads do spawn relatively frequently in this fight, so it's important to always be ready for the tank swap, even like pretty much straight after an ad dies. It can also be worth moving the boss on occasion, depending on the spawn point in the manifestation, just to avoid him sacrificing all his mana at the boss. That's it as far as like pure tank mechanics go. So a couple, like just a universal mechanic here, just to worry about. A universal mechanic, everyone has to watch out for it. It's a white mechanic called Stygian Annihilation, in which the boss does a lengthy cast before exploding for immense amounts of damage, potentially wiping your group. To avoid this, as I said at the start, stand in one of the void zones just before impact, and then again you get out straight after. The fight will enter a phase 2 as well, but phase 2 has no real tank mechanics per se, but you can assist with collecting the orbs and bringing them back to the raid, especially if you're something like a monk or warrior using transcendence or heroic leap. But yeah, that's it for the normal Maut encounter, guys. So if you found this video helpful, please do leave a like and a comment, as it's a good way to gauge the quality of what I'm doing. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Bye now.